If you violate the terms of your lease, you might get evicted. If you break the law, you might get arrested. If you violate company policy, you might get fired. But why care about ethics? Why care what ethics says you should do? Now, over the last couple of years as a lecturer in philosophy, this question has come up quite a lot. And I think it's really important that we talk about it together before we get into the content of specific ethical principles. And the reason for this is really simple. If you don't care about ethics, or you haven't already decided to take what ethics says seriously, then it's a huge waste of my time and of your time to go look at what ethics says. And I don't like wasting time. So let's talk about this. Now, it'd be nice if I could give you a universal reason for why you should care about ethics. But I'm not going to do that. And the reason is that I'm 100% confident that each of you already cares about ethics. And that if you reflect deeply upon your most fundamental commitments, you'll find within yourself reasons to care about ethics. And I don't really care which of those reasons it is, because I don't really care why you care about ethics. All I care about is that you do. But let's talk about some reasons why some of you care about ethics. Now, some of you care about ethics just because of your own self-interest. So imagine that you're starting a new society, and you need to come up with a couple of rules for how you're going to get along. So one rule you might come up with right away, just out of self-interest, is don't murder. It's a good rule, because even if you think you're murder-proof right now, that's not always going to be the case. If you're lucky, you're eventually going to grow old. If you are unlucky, like I was back when I used to longboard, you might fracture your elbow or fracture your arm. You might come down with a dangerous illness, right? All these things will make you more murder or less murder-proof than you are now. So a rule against murder is a really good thing. How about another rule? Don't lie. Now, if you're going to be engaged in any sort of collective projects, it's going to be really important that you can make agreements with other people and that you can trust that those agreements will be honored. And if people just go around lying, you won't be able to trust that they're going to keep their agreements, right? And so for this reason, a rule against lying is going to be incredibly important for sustaining any of the important collective projects that you're going to want to care about. When you lie, what you're doing basically is it's kind of like you have a pyramid of firewood and you're pulling out the bottom branch and then everything just kind of collapses, right? That's what lying does to the social fabric where we need to trust one another. So a rule against lying is incredibly important, even from the perspective of just self-interest. Now, some of you might care about ethics because you want to improve yourselves. You want to become the best version of yourself that you could possibly be. And when you're doing that, what you're thinking about is like, what are some stable character traits of thinking and feeling and behaving that will allow me to become the best version of myself? So one thing you might do in that pursuit is to try to become more courageous in the face of danger. And ethics can help you reflect deeply about the question, what is courage? If you listen to Aristotle, for example, what Aristotle will tell you is a courageous person isn't a coward. So they're not the sort of person who just runs away whenever there's things that are dangerous. A courageous person is also not rash. They're not the sort of person who rushes headfirst into battle without first thinking about the benefits of going to do this and the dangers and the risks and the rewards involved, right? A courageous person sits in the middle between these vices of excess and deficiency, excessive rashness, and deficient cowardice. Now, some of you care about ethics because you care about others. When you look into somebody's eyes, you can see that there's somebody home in there. There's someone for whom life can go better or worse. There's someone whose life matters to them. And when you see that person suffering from all the symptoms of poverty, whether it's starvation or violence or crime or drug abuse, you want to do something. You might be moved to take direct action to help them directly. You might be moved to try to go to the voting booth and vote for policies and politicians who will help them. And you might be moved to conduct your business in a way that alleviates rather than exacerbates their suffering. And ethics can help you think very deeply about the different trade-offs that you'll have to weigh in order to offer help in this way and care for others. Trade-offs between different individuals who have different claims when there are scarce resources. Trade-offs between your own interests and the demands that others place on you. Finally, some of you care about ethics because you're deeply committed to really important values like justice, fairness, freedom, autonomy, and liberty. And when you look out into the world, what you see are companies like Nestle and Hershey and Mars basically exploiting slave labor of children in their chocolate supply chains. You look out at slaughterhouses all over the world that are killing tens of billions of sentient individuals and creating breeding grounds for the next superbug that's going to cause a pandemic. You look at lobbyists from oil and gas interests trying to steer us on a path that's going headfirst into an unimaginably awful climate apocalypse. And when you see these things, you see an affront to these principles that are at the very core of yourself. Ethics can help you think more deeply about these principles and refine them as you try to chart a path in the world that makes it more just or fair and creates more liberty and respects autonomy. So I could go on forever, but the basic point is this. All of you already care about ethics. The only question you need to ask is, do you want to be good at ethics or bad at it?